All right. Good evening, everyone. As we talked about last week, we're going to start off the show with the Christmas tradition that I do. But before I do that, I'll start the recording before I ramble on too long and all that other nonsense. So let me start the recording and we shall proceed with the Christmas Truce, say it correctly, themed edition of the Missouri Liberty Report.
The Constitution isn't just a document. It's a blueprint for freedom. We're breaking down politics at every level, exposing government overreach, and going where the mainstream media surely won't. Join us in defending individual rights against the bureaucratic tide. You're listening to the Missouri Liberty Report.
All right, folks, and we are back for I guess you call it a holiday edition of the Missouri Liberty Report this week. I won't be doing necessarily a holiday one next week because it's just New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And some people go out, drink heavily, and others will not. And that's just, do whatever makes you happy, I guess. Just don't go out and wrap your car around a tree because you're heavily inebriated, and we'll be good. All right, so it is what were you going to say, Brandon?
I was just going to do you think Rand Paul have this report out, and then it might be a holiday episode next.
Yeah, I forget about that. So I hope he does. Yeah, well, maybe we'll get his Festivus report. Maybe it'll be a little more spicier than normal. That would be fantastic. So again, I've kind of started a tradition. I believe it's 2 years ago, where I play Sabaton's Christmas Truce, and I just play the video, let it play out. It's an interesting story. This is the only time the war stopped. This was in its first year, 1914, where they stopped fighting and decided to celebrate Christmas together, the two sides, and the next day went right back to, killing each other again. It's an interesting story. But let's go ahead and play the video. We'll let it play out, and then we'll get into more freedom talk after this.
Wake up! Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thomas! Come on!
Silence. Oh, I remember the silence on a cold winter day. After many months on the battlefield, and we were used to the violence, then all the cannons went silent, and the snow fell. Voices sang to me from no man's land. We are all friends. And today we're all brothers, tonight we're all friends. Our moment of peace in a war that never ends. Today we're all brothers, we drink are right and the snow turns the ground white. On Christmas on the front line we walk among our friends. We don't think about tomorrow. The battle will commence when we celebrate to Christmas. We thought about our friends, those who never made it home when the battle had commenced.
Fix this here. Why is it looking all funky? There we go. Now we got her back. All right, folks. So, good evening to everyone again. A little taste of Sabaton. Again, Sabaton, I would say 99.9% of their songs are based on history. A lot of them, they've written 2 albums on World War one on World War II. They got one about different famous battles, anything from, the Scots, the Crusaders, the last battle of the samurai, all kinds of different stuff. So, and then they have the Sabaton History Channel. So you can go and one of the band members will be with oh god dang it, what's his name? His name's not springing to mind right now, but he also does a whole series on YouTube called The Great War. So it's him and then one of the band members from Sabaton, and they will go through and talk about the history of the song, what led them to write that song. And it's amazing stuff. Like they you don't see you don't see many music bands out there who put all that time and effort into their videos and then have a whole history channel just dedicated to all the songs they've written. So it's really, really cool stuff. And I urge you, yes, it is metal. Some people won't like it because it's metal and that'll just be their only turnoff, but go watch the history, Sabaton history channel. And, I don't know, get an appreciation for what these guys do and, how huge of history buffs they are. That's like one of my personal favorites right there because it's just an insane story, you know. Oh, we're fighting one day, Christmas Day comes along, we play soccer, we do this, we do that, we play music, and no, the next day we just go right back up to go right back to blowing the hell out of each other on the battlefield. It's insane what war will have these men doing. Even though like in the Guns of August, the book about the first, so many months of World War One. They all thought they'd be home by Christmas. They thought this thing was going to be wrapped up. They were going to go in there, take care of business, and Germany's leader told them, "You'll be home before the leaves fall from the trees." And oh my God, were they wrong? Because it went all the way on to 1919, pretty much before that war ended. So, again, really cool story, great videos from those guys, and I just appreciate everything that they do. So, with that being done and over with, I guess we can all, I don't know, I'm sorry I didn't send everybody a box of tissues, because apparently the Chiefs are moving to Kansas City, 2030, and there are many, many, many upset people about this. Democrats are even really, really super upset about this. They're really sad, Brandon. Really sad.
Well, I'm going to steal what you said before the show, so I'll credit you with it. But it does just blow my mind how many Democrats are now looking for billionaire corporate handouts. Like they were the pay your fair share, whatever that means, the pay your fair share party. and now they're out. They're trashing Republicans because they wouldn't give them enough of a corporate handout. Because what Kansas is doing to their taxpayers is crazy.
Yes, it is.
Did
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
you have any specific Just Piper ready to go on this, or just
one said, I only looked at it for the reaction. She just put Missouri lost the Chiefs, and then all the sad emojis and the angry emojis, and they're talking about, oh, this one governor does work for her state. See Chiefs relocation and Panasonic battery plant in DeSoto, and one governor spends his time licking the boots of his grand cult leader. See redistricting effort destined to fail. It's just stupid stuff like that. And dude, you know how hard it is. Again, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but you know how hard it is for me to go in there and go, aren't you the guys that are always complaining about the billionaires and all the tax credits they get and how they don't have to pay taxes and all this? And now you're complaining that a billionaire is leaving? What? You get on here, and if I respond in one of their comment sections, sometimes I get some grief from these people, and they automatically think I'm a Trump supporter. That's number one. That's the first box they check. You're a Trump supporter. Wrong. Wrongo. And so generally I'll lay out some facts, and then there's no one responds to my comments after that, because they're not used to people coming in to their echo chamber and just putting some facts in there. They're used to the other side coming in and calling them loony and, whatever. And they just name call back and forth. It's like a stupid tennis match. A tennis match of stupid, if you will. And so I don't know, dude. I did get on the other day because Judge Piper said something about these Republicans in Northwest Missouri are bought and paid for. Something about school funding, because apparently the way they're saying, I haven't had a chance to really look into it. What they're saying, and there's some federal funding going to dry up for the schools, and they're all losing their collective minds. And I shouldn't be this petty, but it's hard not to be with these people. I just want to get on there and go, you guys always complain about private schools and like Christian schools and all this, messing with public education money, or the money moving with the kid. But it's like, if your education system is so good, you shouldn't need any competition. Like, you should be way up here and they should be way down here, and it's clearly not the case. You're mad because the government run indoctrination centers that you think so highly of, the competition's kicking your butt. So I don't know, dude. It's I got on there. I'm like, only Republicans are bought and paid for. And they're like, oh, show me some proof. Blah, blah, blah. So I get on there and I pick one guy and I say, he takes money from the Missouri Realtors Association, who's really good about lobbying votes to vote against any type of tax reform, especially personal property tax, that would help the middle and lower class. And they're like, oh, that's not. One guy's like, no. And I go, he's not bought and paid for. And I went, proof, ? No response. And I'm like, that's all you're going to do. And so I find myself sometimes getting sucked in on these debates. And then I have to go, all right, dude, just drop it, because you're literally wasting oxygen and energy typing out messages to, dare I say, some of these people are retarded. Okay. And that's just it. And that's not a snipe at people who have a mental handicap. These people have a different type of mental handicap. But yeah, I don't know. I've got to be better about not letting myself get sucked into these and getting, because I love to read the comments. It gives me great joy to read them, because it's like humorous, right? A lot of self-congratulatory, like virtue signaling stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I literally 2 minutes before the show, I see her post this real long thing about the Civil War. Like, she was a history teacher or something. I don't know. And she wanted to teach the real stuff. And Civil War was about slavery. I'm like, oh my God. You don't know, do you? It wasn't about slavery. Not even close, lady. That war was not started over slavery. It started because the southern states decided they didn't want to hang around anymore. And the northern boys got mad because they were going to lose all that money. That's what it was about. It was about money. You dummy. But I was like, don't, John, just don't get in there, because everyone's just going to pile on you and say that you're racist and you're a white supremacist. And then I'm going to get upset because people are stupid and they don't want to think for themselves. And I'm like, just don't fall into that trap. Just don't. Just chill out.
So I want to read Brian Wolfen's
Yes.
Facebook post about the Kansas City Chiefs relocation, because he says it better than I surely can. Quote, as a huge sports fan, football and Kansas City Chiefs, a huge sports, football and Kansas City Chiefs fan, I will not pretend that the Chiefs moving to Kansas does not hurt. I am disappointed in the decision to leave the fans who supported the team for decades, though I am not surprised given the taxpayer-funded package Kansas put on the table. Businesses ultimately make decisions on what benefits them financially. The reality, however, does not change my position. I voted against taxpayer subsidies because the Constitution never envisioned government acting as a deal maker for private corporations. Government exists to protect rights and apply the law equally, not offer special tax incentives to billion-dollar franchises that other businesses could never access. When government starts picking winners and losers, it abandons neutrality and invites cronyism. Risk is shifted onto taxpayers, profits remain private, and constitutional limits give way to political favoritism. Missouri made an offer, Kansas made a bigger one. That predictable outcome shows why government should not be bidding with taxpayer dollars in the first place. Taxpayers do not win subsidy bidding wars. They only pay for them. I will continue to support the Chiefs and wish them success. That said, I am glad Missouri taxpayers will not be asked to fund stadium renovations. For Liberty, Bryant Wolfen.
Yeah, I did see one other interesting comment, and that was from Roger Goodell, who's the commissioner of the NFL. He really liked the deal between Kansas and Kansas City, and the Chiefs, right? Here's what I didn't like. He's like, oh, I love this public-private partnership. Now, that almost made my head explode. I don't like that phrase. That phrase means shady business is afoot. When I hear if I hear someone from a corporation or a politician say, we're going to do this public-private partnership, I just picture someone's wallet getting raped somewhere. That's what I picture. I told a dude at work the other day, I'm going to invent a rape whistle that just is embedded in every wallet that's ever produced. And anytime the government decides to print money, increase taxes, do anything, it could be state, could be local, it could be county, it could be the federal level. And they will, and every time they do it, like a whistle goes off in your wallet. You're just like, oh God, they're doing it again. Like it just hooked to some network. And every time somebody, maybe if it's federal, everybody gets it. If you live in a certain state, then that state, spends a bunch of money on stupid stuff, then bing, your wallet goes off. And it won't be anything. It won't be like the bloody tornado siren test that seemed to go on for 2 minutes as this thing's whirling around, driving your eardrums out of control. But I would be great to have a wallet rape whistle. And it just kind of chirp at you. Like when you forget to change the batteries in your smoke detector or something, get a little chirp and you're like, oh my God, they're doing it again. Now, if it was hooked to the Fed's money printing machine, I imagine the batteries would die pretty quick. Within the first couple days, you're like, I already got to change the battery. Like, yeah, we're going to have to set it at the threshold. If they print, over 100 billion, then it's going to go off. And that's pretty high threshold, but you don't want the batteries dying a couple days after your purchase.
It would still be going off. I mean, what 2 trillion a year? So you'd just be sitting at work and then going nuts.
Everybody's just jumping.
The only time I would ever be okay with hearing private-public partnership is for the most vital of resources. I'm literally talking about water. If someone was like, oh yeah, I let the government on my land to drill some pipes so we could funnel water from the lake that backs up, or whatever, the river that backs up to my property, we're funneling water to the rest of the town. That's a private public partnership I would support. Anything else, and I mean anything else, no thank you. I don't understand what I mean. It's so far out of the scope of what government should be doing. Taking taxpayers to buy a sports team for your state for nothing.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Again, and the response. Again, some of them are like, oh, it's like the Democrats whine because they had a special session to try to make concessions to keep the Chiefs. Thought they had some kind of arrangement. Kansas makes them a better offer. They're leaving. And now they're upset about that. And it's like, God, I don't know. I don't know how these people can split their brains down the middle. I don't know how they can be so bipolar.
Well, you see the same thing. You see the same thing with tariffs.
Yes.
It's like the Republicans are like, you can't tax corporations. We need to tariff corporations. And then you'll have like Democrats are like, the tariffs, they're causing the price of everything to go up. What we need to do is tax the corporations. And you're like, whoa, guys, you're saying the same thing. You're the Spider-Man pointing at the other Spider-Man.
Yeah, having that Mexican standoff where they're like,
yeah,
hey,
like you're the tariff taxes, tariffs.
But let's not forget, when Biden was in office, he decided to increase the tariffs against China, any Chinese goods. There were no Democrats saying anything, nothing. They said nothing when Biden did it. Trump came into office, he continued him, and it's like, wait a minute, he didn't start that. Your dude started that. Don't want to hear that nonsense. Don't want to hear that noise. No, only, again, listen, I'm not liking Trump. I'm not liking what I see. The only thing decent that he's done lately, which could have been done better, was he moved marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Okay, that's a step in the right direction. I'll give him a little bit of props for that. He should have just deregulated and said it's legal and been done. But that's a step in the right direction. I give him a little credit for that. Everything else, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
But this comes on the heels of the Senate destroying the hemp industry in Kentucky.
Yes,
and
absolutely
doing absolutely nothing, and Trump having not having one iota to say about that. And then also, I mean, since we're on to Trump for just a second, I got to talk about the Epstein files, or the
lack thereof,
yeah,
or the black thereof,
the black thereof, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the joke, but everyone had their taxes filled out, and they had a bunch of black boxes, and they're like, "This is how we're sending our taxes in this year, redacted to help the victims or whatever."
Yeah, there's a great one from somebody, and there's a Thomas Massey page on Facebook that I started following, and there's been some great memes on there. It's like I probably won't be able to find it now, but it's like where it's the person like, I asked for this, and then the person responds is like, nope, and then it responds again is like, at the end they're like, okay, and he's like, that's better. I thought somebody sent it to me, but I'll be dang if I can find it now. But it was that kind of thing. It's a great meme. It works on anything just about political. Yeah, I can't find it now, of course. But yeah, I mean, Massey is saying, maybe we need to look at getting Bondi kicked out. And it's like, man, he's some people are like, oh, there was no teeth in that bill. Like if they didn't turn around and release everything like they were supposed to without redacting everything, there was no real disciplinary action built in to that bill. So there were a few people upset about that, and it's like, well,
okay, sure, but I don't even know how much power the legislative has when they put a bill forward like that. I mean, I guess you could have some sort of, but the main point is that they've exposed just exactly how deep this runs. I
Yep.
mean, you've got, if I'm not mistaken, at least 100 pages fully redacted of like victim testimony. And I saw one, again, I don't know how, I'm not going to claim this as fact, but there was one document released that had that was like an internal email related to the investigation, talking about how there were up to 10 possible, they were investigating at least 10 co-conspirators, but Kash Patel had testified to Congress under oath that he didn't know of any, that none of the information had anything other than Epstein trafficking women to himself, like you know, bringing the women in and doing his thing, but it didn't list any of the, like, he was saying there were no more co-defendants in a trafficking case, but evidence there like that document that they released showed that there clearly was, and that Kash Patel's gonna know that, for sure gonna know that. And then also, hell yeah, Pam Bondi needs to be taken out.
Yeah, here it's, I'm releasing the Epstein files. Be honest. I'm releasing some of the Epstein files. Be honest. And then it just shows her saying something, but it's all redacted. And he's like, thank you. Yeah, that's what
exactly.
I was talking about earlier.
Right. No, but she has just fumbled every way possible, because you had Tulsi Gabbard, who's like, yeah, we've got Brennan and Obama for possible treason. You know, we sent our information over to the Justice. We sent it over to the FBI and the Justice Department, or the the Attorney General's office for charges. Nothing happens. She gives those. She releases like the phase 1 Epstein files, where all those journalists and those internet sleuths are holding up the phase 1 files, and then she comes out later and they're like, actually, oh, the files are on my desk, I'm releasing them. And then the whole thing's a Democrat hoax, the files don't exist. And then now that they've forced the release through Congress, and they have the files, but they're all just being redacted. I heard they spent like millions of dollars, that the FBI has spent millions of dollars redacting the documents. So, I mean, so talk about, we're spending money to hide the information from ourselves. Like, we are paying taxes so people within the FBI can redact information that we voted through Congress to know. I mean, it couldn't be a more corrupt, sham, you know, shady ordeal that's going on with the Trump administration. And if you actually had nothing to hide, this should be a nothing. Like, you know what I mean? The files should be out and everyone would be talking about everything else. But because Trump's at the top and these files aren't coming out, it looks really bad.
It does. I was just going to say that. They want to make it into what, you know, some people say a nothing burger, right? Oh, it's nothing. This is a Democrat hoax and blah, blah, blah. We're still talking about that creep. Then they pass the bill and they're like, you got to give it out. And they're like, oh, we'll totally put those files out. We literally ran the country low on black ink trying to like redact every freaking line of the pages, but we put it out. Dude, I don't understand how you could be that, like, these people are so goofy. And again, they're going to get away with it. That's the thing. They're going to get away with it. All these people are like, oh, there's going to be justice. There's not going to be any justice of any kind. And
No.
you know, there were reports. There were some people that had talked to insiders, and they thought that maybe Trump was going to announce that they were going to go ahead and declare war, like full war on Venezuela, and that he seems to have walked that back some. But again, there's been so much distraction around, like they're doing all kinds of stuff leading up to the release of these files, trying to get people's brains, like, get their minds off of it, get them looking at this and get them looking at that. You don't think about the Epstein files. But to me, this only leads me to one conclusion, and I'm not the only one. It's not like I had an epiphany here, but this stuff runs deep. And I've had conversations with people at work or whatever where they're like, dude, what if they would just release the information and like governments fell? And I was like, dude, you had me at releasing the files. You didn't have to sweeten the pot and tell me a bunch of people would like revolt against their governments and demand that they all be buried under the prison. Like, you don't have to dude, I'm sold already. Everything else you're putting on top is just icing on the cake. And he's like, but man, like governments could fall. I'm like, cool. Like, I mean,
stop drilling. You've struck oil.
Yeah, you can turn the motor off for a little bit and give the engines some a breath. But I guess if you really sit and think about it, I'm not saying that like if the government like closed down that everything would be kittens and rainbows and sunshine, right?
It pretty much was. We went through that not long ago, actually, and actually,
but I mean
wasn't
like
bad.
fully. I mean like fully shutting down, right? Like there's no programs, nothing's being done. Like it's closed. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be heartache for a lot of people, right? But there's also that fact that a lot of people, like after 9/11, like it was constantly being said how people came together. Like after a big tragedy, like people come together and help each other out. And it's like, so what, it's like one part of me is like, wait, if we're really that resourceful, and we really have that resolve amongst all of us, right? Or the majority of us have that resolve to make sure that other human beings get through these issues. I'm like, you're telling me we couldn't come together and figure this out without 400 and some odd douchebags like screwing up the works? You telling me we couldn't do that? Pretty sure we could. There's 300 million of us. I bet you we could all come together. And it's not like if you close the government down, like all the electrical grids would just automatically shut off. No, all those people still know how to run all that equipment, right? You have people running heavy equipment. You'd have plumbers, HVAC guys, all the stuff, people to pump the gas, all that stuff. You'd still have all those. It's not like you close the government down and there's like, oh, good Lord. It's in Christianity, they think that there's going to be, yes. It's not like all those people would be raptured out if the government closed. And then suddenly there's like 10% of the people left like, dude, we got to figure out how to fix a transformer. Like, no, they're also going to be here. Well,
a lot of those industries started private anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Like the people, like a lot of energy producers are private companies. Like the government doesn't own Ameren or own any of these. Like that's a private business. And in certain, areas, only certain ones are allowed to do business or have any sort of way to do it efficiently. But my point still stands is you're 100% right. And all of the services that we rely on for the most part are private, they're privately funded. I mean, you'd need security. Like if you wanted, some form of ulterior security, you would have to pay for that. And then, running water, in sewer, you would need to pay some sort of private system for that. But outside of that, like I said, your power is even already a private company for the most part. And so, yeah, life would go on and you would probably end up finding out, wow, the government just takes a lot of my money and spends it on bureaucracy and spends it on itself, gives itself nice pensions, and this and that. And so, yeah, you'd probably have better services. And like you said, it wouldn't be like, even if it shut off overnight, there would be like a few days hiccups. And then things would start to eventually go back to normal because people still want all the stuff. They just don't need a big daddy government giving it to them all the time.
Yeah, and also I think the prices would get cheaper because all those subsidies would dry up. I mean, prices would go way down. And I mean, think about it. Somebody else could come in and go like, hey, I got all this money. I'd like to create X, Y, and Z. And they wouldn't have to go through 40 million fiery hoops to fire up some kind of small business and get running and try to keep things going, right? Or help out. You wouldn't have bloated agencies with a bunch of do-nothings with their hand out like, you didn't pay us our extortion fee so you could fire this bad boy up. Like, those things would be gone. I'm sold. Like, where do I sign up?
No, because even like I was explaining to somebody, like what Tony Lavasco was telling us, was that last week, right? No, 2 weeks,
2 weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my brain's all over the place. Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, I've been telling everybody that coming up, like if Tony wins, or possibly even before then, that the Missouri House wants to introduce a bill to make it easier for people who want to do renovations on their home, like as far as pulling permits and getting all of the approval from the government. And I told him about how the massive electrical test, like he had to take a test for a journeyman electrician, even though he just wanted to run a couple wires into an add-on bedroom or whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, that's ridiculous. It's the government making you go through all these hoops and get all these approvals so somebody can, make the extra money.
Yeah, I just again, that's the greatest fear of a lot of these people in government, is that people figuring out that you don't actually need them for the most part. You might need them for the defense of the country and like contract disputes and a couple other things, but that's all you need. You don't need
Are you talking about a limited government?
The more I think about it, the more ridiculous it sounds to say the words, because I think even if we got back to a limited government, it would not sustain itself for long. You might get 100 years or so where like government's pretty like low key, but then some idiot's going to get a great idea and then suck people in slowly, and you just revolve right back to where you started out before it collapsed. And people are like, and then you'd have people going, excuse me, we already did this once. Hey, we learned from last time. We know what we're doing now. So to ask for limited government, I would love it. Again, if it would stay at its size that it's supposed to, again, defense of the nation, contract resolution, a couple other little things, and it would stay there. Cool. Awesome. I'm down. But God, we got so many people who just want to lord over others all the time. It's like, how long can you keep it that way before it falls apart again? Because again, when you have it good and people are prosperous and everything, and it's like, God, this is going pretty great, right? We don't really have anything to worry about. Then people start taking their eye off the ball. And that's how things slowly get sucked away. And then you get to a really hard time. Things collapse. You rebuild, right? And then you start off and things are hard. You work your way back. Things are easy. You got all these, it's like all this technology is helping things out and making your life easier. You got AC and heat and all these other conveniences. And then you start taking the simple things for granted again. Like liberty. You just start taking your liberty for granted because you're like, dude, it's hot outside. I can walk in my house and like cool down, and I can have some robot bring me a soda, and all my favorite sports are on right now. Like, what do I care about liberty? And then it just starts getting drawn away from you again. So that's the thing, man. Trying to get people to understand, again, even in this state, talking about the budget, people are mad because the governor wants to cut out the income tax. Again, neither side. There are a few in the Republican Party. The Democrats, I've never heard one say anything about cutting the budget, right? So cut the spending, then the loss of income tax revenue won't mean a thing, right? Won't mean anything because now your spending is also down. They're not talking about that. One side's like, we need to get rid of the income tax, the state income tax. And people are like, cool. Now I do see a lot of comments like, hey, let's do property tax first, right? Let's do that one first before you do income tax. And then the Democrats are like, oh my God, we're going to lose X amount of dollars. And I'm like, okay, none of you guys are talking about cutting spending. None of you. It's all about getting rid of the tax or your butt hurt because the loss of the state revenue. And you're so worshipful of a bloated government that you just freak out because the money's not there. And whatever little pet program that you like is on the verge of maybe failing, or it won't have as much money as it used to operate, and they'll be able to dole out less to the public, all these things. But no one's talking, not no one, the majority are not talking about any reduction of spending, of getting that budget back to where it was, like, I don't know, 6 years ago, getting it down to where instead of 52 billion, maybe we're at 26 billion. I don't know. That'd be pretty awesome if you could cut it in half, and then you could cut the state income tax out, and you'd be fine. You'd operate. But because the nitwits decide they want Medicaid expansion, because, oh, what are you guys crying about? The federal government will cover it. The federal government only helps with that for so many years. And a lot of other states have found out that suddenly that federal funding starts going away. The state's having to fund it. So they're having to create new taxes to keep that solvent because now it's part of the law. But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about cut spending. They don't want to talk about responsible governance. The Republicans want to go shiny object. Look here, guys, we'll get rid of your income tax. No mention of cutting the budget for the most part. And over here on the other side, the left side, it's, oh, we're losing money. Oh my God. And they're all pooping their pants. And some of us are in the middle going, you're all stupid. None of you have the sense that God gave a rock. We got to do better than this.
So what bugs me about Democrats in particular is that they act like we don't all want the same thing. Like they act like because we are going to cut funding to like the, Medicaid or the ACA or anything like that, they act like we want people to not have health insurance and to pay more at the hospital.
God
They act like that's what our goal is. And when in reality, it's the insurance companies and the hospitals working together to fleece everybody in the first place. And then also, yeah, it's just they think that like if you oppose school funding, that we think that we want all poor kids to be dumb forever. And that's just that's not true. We just know that the government is not going to run the system efficiently. I do. Right.
I want all poor kids to be dumb. No, I don't. Yeah. Sorry, I had to slip that in there.
We need cheap labor. Where are you going to get cheap labor if you don't have dumb people? Everybody.
Yeah, you got to have dumb people so you can.
No, and again, I'm going to become a general in the army because there is a war on the middle class. And kind of like you were just saying with all the expansions to Medicaid, the people at the very bottom and the people at the very top just run dry. The people who make a decent living or own a small business. I mean, the taxes apply to them. The regulations apply to them. And the taxes aren't coming from the people making less than $40,000. They're not you know what I'm saying? Those people are getting subsidized food, subsidized healthcare, subsidized housing. They're getting all of the big benefits. And then, like I was saying last week, the people at the top, they're getting the tax subsidies. Like, look at the Chiefs owner. He's getting 70% of that new stadium is being funded by the people of Kansas who make, like I was saying, the people who make between 400,000 and 100,000, 100 to 400,000. Those are the people in Kansas who are paying for the Chiefs stadium renovation. And so I'm glad because the stadium's moving like 30 minutes from the border. I think it's pretty much the same distance that Arrowhead was from Kansas. Not really that far. So for me, it's like a 30-minute extra drive if I want to go watch a Chiefs game. But now that we're not on the hook for paying for that stadium. I think that's great.
All right. Let me play this video from, I think this is the right video. I'm going to play this video from Milton Friedman on who really pays business taxes, because I think there's a bunch of people who don't get the premise here.
Is a notion that somehow there are taxes on business and there are taxes on people. There has been a great deal of talk, and I use only the most recent proposals of President Carter for illustration, because this same kind of talk has emanated from every administration, Republican or Democratic. There is talk about how we're not going to raise taxes on people, we're going to raise it on business, on corporations. The most obvious example is with Social Security tax. Supposedly, that tax is half on employee and half on employer. But that's a fake. It's all paid by the employee. It adds to the wage cost of hiring a person. If an employer has to pay in addition to a wage, what is it currently? Close to 6% of the wage? Well, that's that much less that he has available to pay as wages in trying to hire somebody or bid somebody away from somebody else. But more fundamentally, businesses can't pay taxes. A business isn't a person. Only people can pay taxes. A corporate executive may write the check. He may sign his name to it. But who's paying it? It either comes from the customers, or it comes from the workers, or it comes from the stockholders. Where else can it come from? Again, is there somehow some way in which some people can pay or some funds can be gathered with nobody paying it?
That's about the best you can put it. That sprang to mind because I remember watching that video a long time ago, and Brandon and I are talking about a lot of the people, Democrats want to tax. We got to tax these businesses. The business is the building and the walls and the all the equipment and everything it takes to produce the goods that whatever they're producing, right? That's the business. There's people in there. It's not all self-running. There's a bunch of employees. There's management. There's everything else, making sure the products get out the door. You're just taking that burden and throwing it right on their back. And then you play this game of like the shell game. You put the ball in and you just shift it around. Like, where's the taxes at? Oh, here it is. It's under the rich shell. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's under my shell, you a-hole. That's where it's at. You're playing a shell game. You're shuffling crap around, and then you're cramming it up my butt. Like, people have to, and it's a really simple, basic concept, right? And people don't understand that type of basic thing. They think that the business pays it. Like, oh no, you're wrong.
Well, they also think that when they hear someone's net worth, that they're Scrooge McDuck sitting on a pile of gold.
Yes.
That's money. Like everyone's Ebenezer Scrooge with it. And that everyone's just hoarding it for myself. And I could give the child the money for a duck, but I choose not to. It's no. When like Elon Musk, he's sitting on a decent little pile of cash, but he's not sitting on enough money to save America. He's got all of his money's tied up in Tesla and SpaceX. Like that's where his net worth comes from, is the value of his businesses. He doesn't even have a ton of like flexible cash, because when he went to buy Twitter for $45 billion, he had to sell a lot of his assets. And he had to sell a lot of what he owned in Tesla stock, which caused the price of Tesla stock to plummet for a little while. And so it just goes to show you that, like, Milton Friedman's totally right. When you try to tax people, like if you're going to raise taxes for like the billionaires, they're just going to shuffle it around, and the stockholders are going to pay, the customers are going to pay, the employees are going to pay, but the people at the top rarely pay for things. I hearken it to like the same example in a war, where like the people at the top in a war are never paying the consequences for the war. The ones whose decision it was to fight the war, 99% of the time, they don't, that's not coming back onto them. And the same thing with these taxes on corporations. It's not hurting. Like whenever you hear people like, oh, we need to take down Putin, it's like, you're not taking down Putin. At best, you're sending more average conscripted Russians to their death sentence, but Putin is not paying. And so when you want to tax a billionaire, the people who who make, a decent living, and they're the ones who are paying for it.
Yeah. Again, trying to get people to understand that is just like, it's really hard. It's nigh impossible to get them to understand and get them to see how badly they're being screwed. And getting them to follow the money, and seeing and lining out how a tax or especially subsidies. People see subsidies and they're like, "Oh, this is good. It makes things cheaper." And getting them to follow that train of thought, like, okay, it's like, okay, the government gives, okay, so electric EVs, right? We're going to give them $4,000. We're going to give them $4,000. The cost of the car automatically goes up $4,000. It's an automatic function of the marketplace. Colleges, same way. They subsidize colleges, and tuition has skyrocketed well over the rate of inflation year over year. And people think if you talk about the government getting out of that, they automatically think it's going to get more expensive. But trying to lead people and get them down this course to see that subsidies are the quickest way to make any service or product more expensive is really, really hard. And now, again, Brandon, you mentioned the ACA, and they just think we don't want people to have insurance anymore. We want people lining the halls dying, or just dying in the parking lot, and the hospital's kicking them out. I remember when Ron Paul was running in either 2008 or 2012, and they brought it up. He's like, they're trying to make people think that if you go to the hospital and you don't have insurance, that they don't have to see you. No, there's already laws against that. There's already laws against a hospital kicking someone out because they don't have insurance. So that's not it. It's just the government wanted a bigger piece of the pie. They wanted control. And again, there are going to be a lot of people who disagree with me, especially on the left. But this system was built to fail, to bring on the single payer system. That's what they wanted from the beginning, and that's how they're going to get there. They want this to collapse. They want an outcry. And this, oh my God, my deductibles and everything are going up. My premiums are skyrocketing. Yeah, that's what they want. They want you to cry out for help, and they'll turn around and make it worse than it is now. They'll be like, hey guys, we got this really great single payer system. It's awesome. Go look at Britain. Go look at Britain's single payer system and see how good it is, how long you have to wait to get care. Look at Canada's system. See how long it takes you to get care. Why those people cross the border in the U.S. to get surgeries because they don't want to wait 6 months to a year. Now, they're going to be sold a bill of goods. It's going to sound really good. But when government has screwed up health insurance as bad as they have, and created monopolies, because there used to be a lot more insurance companies out there, and now states might have one or two max insurance companies to choose from. They actually closed down the amount and snuffed out competition. So the question I have is, why would you want an institution to create something quote unquote better when this was supposed to be better and they destroyed it? They've ruined it. Why would you put your faith and trust in that same institution to enact this change? Hope and change like Obama had. Why would you even defend these people and put your hope in them that they're going to create something better. Now, Rand Paul has legislation to give people more options in the marketplace to get health insurance costs down. That won't see the light of day because that doesn't interest them. And it doesn't matter if it's Republicans or Democrats, except for a just a very small minority of people in DC. It doesn't matter what party they're from. They both want to run insurance. They just want to run it in their own way. And government running insurance is a really, really, really bad idea. So how about if they come out and they say, we have this plan, everybody just go like this and show them that they're number one and go, how about you write a law that says I can buy health insurance from any state, any company that I want to. And then, I don't know, I'd say within a year, prices would just drop because they want to suck you in. They want to draw you to them. So they keep their customers. It makes them competitive. Now, government doesn't like competition. They don't like that. They want to be it. They don't like that competition. So if they're running it now, you're going to be really hard pressed to get them to be hands off. That's nigh impossible. So their only recourse to maintain control of this system is to create something worse. Again, the Hegelian dialectic. You got the problem, they come up with the solution, or you wait for the outcry, and then they give you a solution to the problem that's worse than the original problem. And that's what will happen with the ACA if these things keep going and enough people outcry to the government for help. We'll end up in a single payer insurance system at some point. And you think healthcare sucks now. You just wait. It's going to get real bad.
Not to mention that, America has an obesity problem. And I know GLP-1s are starting to tackle some of that, but until they get all the way there, you're talking about, funding like a single payer system is like the reason healthcare in America, and my theory on it, the healthcare is such a complicated, there's no one good solution that's going to make things cheaper in the healthcare industry.
Hey, you're wrong. It's real simple. Health insurance is a right, Brandon. Now you straighten up and you think right. Sorry, I had to throw that in real quick.
A lot of things in politics, honestly, they're complicated issues with simple solutions. That's what it is. And humans are human beings. No system we have is going to be perfect. There's going to be, no matter what healthcare system you have, you're going to have flaws in it somewhere. But when you're requiring the masses to start paying for the health, healthy individuals who take care of themselves shouldn't have to pay the same amount for healthcare as someone who doesn't. That's just a fact of life. That you shouldn't have to pay the same rate if you don't have the same amount of prescriptions needed, visits, all the different things. You're forcing someone to pay for something that they're not using, and that is theft. And so in a way, again, I would love to see healthcare be cheaper for everyone. But what you don't need to do is rob other people to pay for other people's things. And I love what you said about the colleges and about how it's not even necessarily the subsidies per se. It is the government backing of the loan. So in any industry you have, if you have a system where no matter what, someone else is going to come in and pay full price for the service that you're rendering, regardless of, the quality of what you're producing, or if that person even received the service, that you are going to be paid in full, then of course they're going to charge whatever they want. They're just going to be able to charge a max for the amount of people who can qualify for loans, not people who are going to, benefit from the education. And the government, you can look at it from every industry across the board. Anything that has any sort of government interference, which includes tariffs, taxes, or subsidies and handouts, their prices are always more expensive. Everything gets more expensive when the government starts pumping money into it or taking money out of it one way or the other. Because like you said, if the companies are getting the subsidies, then they can afford to charge more. And if they're having money taken out, then they have to charge more. And so again, like you said, it doesn't. Whenever people get the subsidies to buy things, that doesn't make anything cheaper. It just it causes businesses to raise prices. And when you add taxes, they raise prices to cover that loss. And so it's a lose-lose when government gets involved. And so, yeah, it starts with the Randall Payne on Facebook, the comment you put up there. Government education is seriously dumbed down the U.S. citizen. Absolutely.
I want to get to something else too that I think you were maybe going to get into it, but I the amount of unhealthy people. I mean, the government created the food pyramid, and like back in the day, it was like 9 servings of grain and only a couple servings of meat. Like, I don't have a problem if we actually had a food pyramid that was built on eating healthy, right? Like, it was set up the way it should be, like a lot of protein, less carbs, stuff like that. And the government's like, cool, we're going to put this out. So as part of education, that's as far as I want them to go, right? I don't want them creating, I don't want them creating anything that is going, that's been bought by lobbyists. Like, oh, the bread industry's here and they're, they're freaking, they want to be at the top of the food pyramid with the most servings. Like, no, it has to be factually based, healthy stuff. I don't want lobbyists coming in and trying to get their food at the top of the pyramid, which would be really hard to do. But it's it's insane if we don't get people educated on what's healthy, right? And how to eat healthier and not be dependent on pharmaceuticals all the time to keep them alive and fix their problems and blah, blah, blah. If we don't get people healthier, yeah, insurance costs will still be high. That is, and you're right, that is one of our big dilemmas. That's one of the biggest roadblocks we have, even without the ACA. The amount of unhealthy people overall in this country is staggering. And we've got to get that figured out. Now, if we could get that tackled and we could have better education for people on how to eat healthier and things like that, and we got people to flip that, and you didn't have government involved subsidizing things and keeping the cost up, you could see insurance costs go down. But again, I think if they would have just passed a law that said you can buy from anybody you want across state lines, it would have stayed lower because the subsidies wouldn't have been there. People would have had a choice. They could have bought a cheaper plan. Maybe it didn't cover as much stuff, but that's their option. Or some people only want catastrophic care. That's all they wanted. They didn't want the general stuff. Cool, let them buy it. Let them pay for it. The insurance company wants to offer it. Let them buy it. That's the free marketplace, right? That's the free market at work. But we can't do that. We have to have pity parties, and we have to make you feel bad because some companies offered their employees the Cadillac plans. And then, you offering a Cadillac plan to your employees? Guess what? Now you're going to pay a penalty. You're going to force a company to pay a penalty for offering a Cadillac plan. Now, in what world does that make sense? Especially coming from Democrats who always complain that the billionaires and these greedy business owners don't give their employees nothing. They steal from their employees and they're robbing wealth from their employees. But what if the employer says, hey, I want to give you the option to get the absolute best insurance. Well, if you do that, you're going to get a penalty. Okay. What the hell is that? What is that? So was it really about making sure everybody can afford their health insurance, or was it about the government taking it over? It's the latter, not the former. Of course, that was one of those questions. It is self-answering question, right? That was the obvious answer, but people who are stuck on this, we got to do something to fix health insurance. The government needs to start keeping these. They need to keep these subsidies rolling out. I thought this was going to be so good that if this system is so good, why do we need subsidies in the first place? I thought everything was going to be affordable. Why do we have to have subsidies for a system that you all created that was supposed to be the end all be all and make health insurance affordable because it's a human right or whatever health insurance is a right. All these things that they said, and the system is collapsing and it's getting more expensive. Why would we need subsidies for a system that was so good? Well, because COVID. Oh, right. You guys also made a rule, stay home 15 days to, slow the curve, which turned into some states or cities or counties, the months upon months. Oh, yeah, the same government that ruined 29% of businesses and people were forced to stay home. Oh, it's cool. We'll subsidize your healthcare insurance premium costs. So the institution that started the ACA and said it was so good, it was going to make everything so much better. Life was, if you broke a bone, no biggie, man. You won't have to pay nothing. And if you liked your doctor, you could keep your doctor. Remember that? You liked your doctor, you could keep your doctor. A bill so good that Nancy Pelosi said we have to pass it first to see what's in it because it's so magical. If we open it up right now, it'll be like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when the Nazis open up the box and their faces melted, right? That's how good it was. And then you have to subsidize it because it's so good. You also have to add subsidies on. Now they're running out and people are freaking out. Stop letting these people fool you into thinking they're going to do something really good for you. That's all I have to say.
So this is the best way I can kind of simplify it, really. So it's like whenever the government mandated the ACA, and part of that was forcing everyone to get health insurance or pay the tax, right? It would be like if you forced everyone to go and buy hamburgers, or actually you had to go and buy a negotiator who negotiated a hamburger price for you. And so, of course, you're giving everybody money to negotiate for their hamburgers. And so then obviously the businesses are going to start charging more. Like then the people selling hamburgers know that you have to go to them to get a hamburger, or you have to pay a tax anyway. They're going to raise the price on the hamburger because they know everyone has to go get one. So then what the single payer system does is it forces everyone to go through one hamburger negotiator that work. Like the funny thing about the ACA too is that the health insurance companies and the major medical associations all donate to the politicians, right? The politicians, especially in like the US House and the US Senate, are some of the most corrupt people in the entire country. And so under the single payer system, what you're relying on at that point is the corrupt politician to force the health insurance companies, the single payer, and the hospitals to negotiate the best price for you. But the hospitals and the insurance companies were the ones who already negotiate. Like they're already the ones who are in cahoots to make the most amount of money while siphoning money from you. I think insurance companies take like an unbelievably high cut of the hospital bills that get paid. And so, yeah, you're talking about a system that's flawed from the jump. So basically, back to the hamburgers, under the single payer system, you've basically forced everyone to go to one hamburger stand and forced the best friend of the hamburger owner to dictate the price. And so, yeah, you've lost everybody.
Yeah, it is just absolutely mind-blowing
And
to
last
watch
thing,
this in action.
the Republican plan, like what the Republicans were pitching doing, was directly subsidizing people to pay for their insurance premiums, which is essentially what the ACA does anyway. It just gives you a back credit. It gives you a forward tax credit on the subsidy on the premium. And so the government is already giving you money to pay for your premium. So if what the Republican plan is the same thing. They're like, no, we don't want to boost the ACA. What we need to do is subsidize the taxpayer to get their health insurance premium. I'm like, that's what the ACA was. It's the same thing.
It's so funny. It's just, it makes your face almost melt off thinking about it. But yeah, you just go on for hours about any of this stuff. Insurance. I mean, we've got subsidies for corn and soybeans. So, it used to be a lot of things just had sugar in them. But once the corn subsidies really rolled in, then everything went to high fructose corn syrup, which is unhealthier than just sugar. And it's just funny how these things like end up all connecting at the dots. Like, why do we have why are people more unhealthy? Well, it's because we put high fructose corn syrup in everything. Why do we do that? I don't know, because we passed corn subsidies for all the farmers. Oh, oops. Like, so even things that you think wouldn't like come together end up coming together because they're all stemming from one very large corrupt institution. So everything they put their little dirty, grubby fingers at, it all ends up mashing up someplace. Just like a big train wreck, a big dumpster fire. And I don't know. If it didn't harm everybody's pocketbook, it would be really funny. But everybody's just getting screwed.
Sorry, I have to say something before I forget, and I go without saying it. Did you happen to see where the Trump administration finally gave the game away in Venezuela? So I don't remember if we talked about it last week or not, but the U.S. military started seizing the oil tankers coming out of Venezuela. And then I can't remember if it was Stephen Miller, somebody in Trump's circle, or it may have even been Trump, said that we're going to seize Venezuelan assets to recuperate the losses from when Venezuela kicked out the oil companies in 2006. So we're going back in to recuperate oil company losses from 19 years ago. That's why, that is the truth, but they finally just gave the game away and said it out loud. So all of this talk they had for months, blowing up low-level drug smugglers in the Pacific Ocean that are 10 to 20 stops away from getting to the United States with what is 100% not fentanyl, they finally were like, okay, we're going to just start taking oil tankers and we'll just admit the truth. Because my theory on it is that the whole thing fell apart. Like maybe the Trump administration just realized that this narrative for going to war is just not selling. It's not selling with young Republicans. It's not selling with independents. It's only selling with the boomer Trump base who are going to go along with him no matter what. And everyone else is like, this is a terrible idea. It's a lie. We see right through it. And finally, like, fine, we'll just go get the oil and then we'll get out. And like you said, I'm hoping that kind of pressure, because I heard the same thing you did. I remember Scott Horton was like sending out a ton of tweets and he was sending out the White House's number. I called it once, but I don't remember if I got voicemail or what it was, but I just hung up. But anyway, he was trying to dial to reach the White House to tell them that we don't want to go to war with Venezuela, because I heard the same thing. He was getting ready to announce that, and then he ends up basically announcing nothing.
Yeah.
But how crazy is it, though, that your idea, we're like, man, this Epstein thing looks really bad. What should we do? I know. Regime change war will make everything better. Like, oh, you know what'll cool everyone off from this Epstein thing is regime change war in Venezuela.
Yeah, and then on top of that, apparently, the 29th, Netanyahu's coming back to the U.S. to try to convince us to do another strike or do more strikes on Iran again.
No.
Like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? And again, going back, I know we've discussed this before, but there's been all this uproar between like the Mark Levins, the Dana Lashes, the the Ben Shapiro's and all this stuff. And, between them and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and stuff like that. And everybody's trying to, Lesh and Levin and Shapiro wants to blame Candace and Tucker for destroying the conservative movement and all that. And it's like, dude, dude, I don't know what's wrong with my X feed, but Jesus, it's just like, I scroll and it's like 90%. Oh, Shapiro like really owning people at that TPUSA event the other day. And then I heard some clips and I'm like, he's not saying anything like innovative or like new. He's parroting the same crap that Levin and all the other shady people are doing. He's not saying anything new. He's just trying to like guilt you and it just play this guilt by yourself. You don't want to be an anti-Semite, do you? You don't want to destroy the conservative movement. This guy got up there and said something about freedom and this and the free market. That's how we fix things. Like, oh, the guy that was always talking about trying to tell people to go get the COVID vaccine and it didn't come from a lab. The guy who was so wrong on COVID. And the guy who's continually covering for Bibi Netanyahu and the rest of the Likud when they want to run a genocide campaign in Gaza. That's the guy if that's the conservative movement, then I hope it collapses under its own weight. Because what a bunch of useless pedophile cover-up douche canoes. What a huge group gathering of those douche canoes. Good. I hope you all drown in your own feces that you're spewing out every day. Good. I don't feel sorry for you. If you're going to try to guilt me, I don't agree with everything Candace says. I don't agree with everything Tucker says. But you know what they're willing to do? They're willing to think outside the box and have differing voices on with them to have conversations. The Dana Leshes and the Levins and the Shapiros, they don't do that. They don't have differing opinions on. If they do, it's some simple-minded little twit that you can just bash over the head with your silly little, like, talking points, and they have no comeback. But for anybody who's got a high-functioning brain, you don't want to talk to them because they'll destroy your argument. They'll make you look like a fool. So mentally and intellectually unimpressive people trying to say that in a way they're running their own cancel culture without running straight to the government to get the people canceled, trying to convince me that they're like the morally superior people. Dude, that's one of the funniest things I've heard in a long freaking time, man. It's hilarious.
So I would say for like the last 3 or 4 months, I just see like I won't follow them and they won't have like a check mark. They're not someone famous. And it'll just be kind of like you said, it'll be like the opposite opinion that I have. It'll just be like 5 or 6 of those like on my feed in like a 30 post scroll. I'm just like, why is my feed pumping me? Like you said, people like I saw a couple like praise Ben Shapiro's, but I'll see like pro-Israel ones will come up on mine, like pro going after the Venezuelans, like all kinds of weird, just like conservative talking point stuff pops up on my feed, and I'm with you. It's super annoying. And also, it's such a ridiculous claim that like 1 or 2 people can like they're destroying the Republican Party, and the way a lot of the Zionists will be like, they'll act like social media, like we're social media is why the young people don't. It's not because that we committed genocide. It's not that we bombed and destroyed 100,000 people and displaced 2 million others. That couldn't possibly be why people don't like the Likud party in Israel. It's got to be Qatari manipulation on social media. It's like, oh my gosh, no one is buying it. You can take all of that back to the warehouse because no one here is buying it. Take it off the shelves. No one's buying it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. It's so bad.
I heard that AmFest was like just a constant back and forth of like everyone being like, we need to take these people down. They're not conservatives. And then the other half would be like, actually, we're all conservative, and the people who say that we're not conservatives are actually the ones you can't trust. Like Tucker went on, and then Ben Shapiro went on, and then I think Alex Jones was there, and the whole Daily Wire team. Megyn Kelly was there. They, just we're the real conservatives. No, we're the real conservatives.
And then JD Vance, I will applaud JD Vance a little bit because he got up there and goes, I'm not up here telling you to cancel somebody. Like Charlie Kirk wanted people from different walks of life communicating, and I think that's what we should do. And I was like, there you go. No bunch of bravado and hype talk. He's like, no, I think we should just all let these people talk. I'm not going to condemn these people and pat these people on the back. We're just different voices coming together to talk. And I'm like, there you go. How simple is that?
I do need to get something off my chest real quick because you'll see people like Daryl Cooper. Daryl Cooper will just support JD, like has had like 5 or plus posts on X just talking about how much he loves JD Vance. And first of all, JD Vance has like a very shady, kind of like path to where he's gotten from. Who's basically the billionaire that kind of like took him under his wing, had him doing like investment stuff?
Is it Peter Thiel?
Yeah, had Peter Thiel. Like when you've got billionaires as like your shadow funder, apparently Peter Thiel was the one who talked Trump into picking him for his VP spot. And then also JD Vance is now complicit in the cover-up of the Epstein files. He's complicit in the bombing of Iran. He's complicit in helping continue this genocide in Gaza. He's complicit in continuing the war in Ukraine. He's complicit in the war in Venezuela. I mean, you can't be the vice president and hang on this long and act like you are not 100% tied to these decisions now, because you are in that spot. And if you disagreed with him on all of these things, these are not like little disagreements. These are major, major things. This isn't like, oh, did we not pull the funding for like NPR? No. These are regime change wars, continual perpetual military industrial complex projects. I mean, covering up the Epstein files. I mean, he's on the team for all of this. So the people who are like going after the administration and talking about how bad it is, but then they're willing to like give JD Vance a pass on it. Well, he's our guy for 2028. He'll really kick out the Zionists and the neocons and he'll turn the ship around. It's like, dude, I would not hold my breath on that, because he is standing in line with Trump on all of these decisions he's making. And to think that Trump is the one in there actually making all of these decisions, you're crazy. He has a team of advisors and handlers, and they're pushing him towards these things. And JD Vance is in that mix somewhere. You can act like he's on the outside fighting, and he's probably inside actually pushing for all the right things. No, I tell you, I wouldn't vote for a Vance 2028 simply for him being attached to this Trump 2024 so far. And I would have to see him do some amazing things before I would be like convinced that JD Vance is like good for America in that spot. And again, I would love to be wrong. I would have loved to have been wrong about Trump coming into this last year. It keeps proving to you time and time again that you're not going to be wrong when you go against any type of Republican or Democrat that's that high up in power. They will eventually prove to you that they're a scumbag.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. They will definitely show their true colors at some point. No two ways around it. It's been happening. It's been happening for a long time. I mean, look at Missouri. The Republicans hold a majority. They've been holding majority for several years now. Had, back-to-back Republican governors, all this stuff. What are we getting out of it? What are we getting? We're not getting what they tell us we're going to get. We're getting bent over the table, just like at the federal level. Again, seeing these posts from people, the Republicans in this state in Missouri are bought and paid for. Yeah, because the Democrats aren't. I don't know how much Kool-Aid you have to drink to be that drunk, and then also to make you that stupid or naive, or just to get you to ignore the facts staring you dead in the face and if the only thing you have here's something else too. A lot of these people they stand up on their soapbox. I'm talking about politicians and how they reject the ideas from the other party. That's a Democrat thing. We can't do that. It's like, okay, but let's say, for instance, the Democrats decided they wanted to end qualified immunity. Are you going to just go against that because that's a Democrat idea? Because it sounds pretty good to me. I don't know. I wouldn't have a problem with ending qualified immunity, not in the least bit. And so I get tired of it. And the Democrats, I don't like this is a Republican idea and it's bad. Is it bad because it's a Republican idea, or is it bad because it goes against your principles? And maybe it is both. But dude, we like to poke fun at Democrats because they're easy, right? They're easy targets. That's low-hanging fruit. And they are kind of fruity. So it's just like a double whammy there, right? But the Republicans, that's low-hanging fruit too. If you look like for 30 seconds and see some of the things that these people, not all of them, but the majority of them, yeah, they're just, God dang, dude. Sometimes I wonder how I haven't had to yell clean up in aisle 3 right before my head explodes, getting behind this mic some weeks and talking about some of the stuff that these people do. And then the more infuriating part is how many people buy it and clap like retarded seals or like, quit doing that. Tape your hands together for a little bit and then tape your mouth shut. Don't regurgitate and don't clap. Just be quiet. Shh, quiet. There's babies sleeping in the other room. Shut up. I shouldn't be that rude. But again, we've said this many, many, many times on the show. We can't just place all the blame on the government. I also can't fully fault the people either, because they've all gone through the same school system that we went through, and they were taught the same things that we've been taught, that seemingly your rights come from government, and they're not natural rights enumerated in the Constitution. Like, government is the final arbiter of what you can and cannot do and where your rights come from. And so they've been through the same indoctrination centers we all have. It's just that some of us choose to educate ourselves and think for ourselves. And a lot of people choose to, again, stay in their own echo chamber, regurgitate nonsense, and it makes them feel good. And unfortunately, that's another part of society that, you always have to feel good about something. I remember Bill Maher in one of his stand-ups years ago said, I didn't want to vote for this person because I wasn't comfortable. And he's like, do you always have to be comfortable, you stupid little schoolgirl? Now, he was like talking about voting for a Democrat. I think for there's too many people that like real liberty and freedom freaks them out. Like that there's not this social safety net for them all the time. And they have to live with the consequences of their actions without some government handout. I think that freaks a lot of people out. They've seen it for so long, they think if you pull away from that, like the society will collapse. And we'll all run around going back to Stone Ages, and the guys will get their wives by dragging them by their hair into their caves and then making babies. Like, no, we can still be civilized. It'll be fine. I swear to God.
Yeah. No, I think Sam Harris, and I've heard this from other people, but I think he's the one that I first heard it from, is that a civilized society needs a safety net. And I'm not even saying that I 100% disagree with that in like a totally philosophical sense, but using that logic to argue that the government could effectively create like a social security safety net, unemployment safety net, healthcare safety net is such a dramatic leap, because kind of like what you were talking about at the beginning of the show, so, like without the government ran systems in this, that's basically saying that you think all of America is full of so many scumbags that we need some sort of government entity also ran by those scumbags to force everyone else to pay for this social safety net to be nice. when in reality, you would probably have an equally efficient system of like whenever the government SNAP benefits ran out. And they were like, because of that, everyone pitched in and donated to the church and the food shelters. And look at all the people who had food. And you're like, right, you guys are so close. You're right there to seeing it. Like, if you believe that there should be a safety net, then fine. What you would do is like, I would, you'd start one for your community and be like, hey, everybody, like voluntarily, if you pitch in $10 and then if you lose your, like a month or a week or whatever it is, and then when you lose your job, that money is saved up to go to that person until they find a new job. Like, you could have the exact same unemployment systems and everything you wanted in a private system. You could have the, like, all the socialists who think you need big daddy government to come in charge and lead the socialist movement. Just go do it without the government. Like, if you believed in socialism, go do it. Like, no system of government is going to force you to be capitalist. You can go out and just give away all of your money. You can do that. No one's stopping you. So yeah, I mean, again, even if you agree with a civilized society needs a social safety net, like, okay, go fund it privately then. When you fall on hard times, go to the church and say you need help. They'll probably help you.
Yeah, we have a lot of people have forgotten about that churches and a lot of nonprofits used to take care of these issues. We didn't have to have government programs to do that. We could just be like, oh yeah, cool. Awesome sauce. And and neighbors would help neighbors, right? That was just a thing. Neighbors would help neighbors, and awesome. And but now it's just this I don't know, dude. It's the way people have been brought up. It's the way people have been indoctrinated to go, well, this is how it is, man. That you have to depend on government for everything. It's like, I have to, and they're like, you do. Sorry, man. Sorry to bust your bubble, but it's the way it is.
Think this is my opinion on it, but I think not enough people are involved in different like agorist societies.
Yeah.
And sure, like right now, given the state of everything, like it might be hard to find everything you need in like an agorist society, like on a Facebook group, like all of your basic necessities and everything you need. Yeah, probably pretty tough. But that's where you get the start from is you join the group, you put in your contribution. You're like, oh, I make pretty good jelly and jam, or I make pretty good salted beef or whatever. And then you trade it and someone's like, oh yeah, I'll give you 4 cans of jelly for that meat. And boom, there you go. And then when you fall in a hard time, you might be able to hit up that group and go, hey guys, I'm having a hard time. Can someone spare some rolls and some jelly? And yeah, so I think more people, like in general, don't try, like in my daily life, I do think about often, like, how can I avoid paying federal taxes? How can I avoid, the different government systems? How can I avoid regulations? Like, I'm not a lot of the things, and like if my I don't know if you need to, like, my dad's HVAC certified. If he came over and replaced a condenser, I don't know if I would need to pull a permit for that or not. I ain't pulling that permit, like that's what I'm saying. So yeah, I mean, I just think more people don't have that basic instinct in them because they are under like the government indoctrination of education. They're convinced that the tax dollars makes them righteous. Yeah, you got a license for that jelly?
Yeah, what are you doing? Like, and you're like,
yeah. That was a comment from Agorizer, by the way. That wasn't my thought. But yeah, you got a license for that jelly? I think that's funny.
It is funny. And it's also, it's really scary. It's just really, really terrifying that something as simple as that, right? The whole you go to a farmer's market and people are just, they've got excuse me, they've got something they want to sell. And there was a couple here in Owensville a few years back selling honey. Well, they didn't have a label with all the ingredients and stuff on it. So the health food inspector's like, out, leave. They got a new health inspector, and he was showing up at the farmer's market and throwing his weight around, his or her weight around. I don't know.
My goodness.
Yeah, it just could not just leave well enough alone. And I think some guy was trying to sell raw milk, and they said, nope, you're not doing that here, and kicked him out too.
Well,
And
sorry. Sorry.
But it's just that, it's gotten to the point where people come together at some, I don't know, maybe don't have it at the city park, right? Because then you're on public land. Have the farmer's market on private land. Then watch a health inspector try to like find you and like show up, and you're like, what are you doing here? Out. Bye. Good day. We're not on public land anymore. Adios, muchacho. But yeah, Chrysler, like ingredients. So it's and to me, that's like little ways that you can start chipping away, right? So you don't have a farmer's market in the city park. Somebody's got a nice building somewhere that they own that's private property, and they decide, I want to let all these people set up and sell here, and you just let them set up and sell there.
Well,
Get it on public land.
Partially to like the farmer's market thing. Like, do you remember the story about the guy? I think he lived in like DeSoto, maybe, or somewhere. I think somewhere in like Franklin County, maybe, where he was selling pickles to his neighbors, and like was like on Facebook to his friends selling pickles, and had insurance in case someone got sick. Like, he had insurance, but because he didn't have a separate facility for jarring and everything, the state came and told him they were going to fine him and told him he couldn't sell pickles, gave him a cease and desist or whatever. And it's just ridiculous. And the big takeaway, another big thing too, is that if you have your agorist society, like if you've developed it to where you're almost not, if not completely non-reliant on like federal and state, even state governments for like the things that you need, then when the Civil War happens, they have to come to you. Like, you can keep living your life and then get fed up and you're like, oh, we got to revolt, but then you've got to take the fight to them. But if you have the system and they're coming after you, make them bring the fight to you you know what I'm saying? You don't have to, like, this mass revolt of the people doesn't have to be some violent overthrow of the government. It doesn't have to be. I mean, it can. It doesn't have to be a tar and feather situation. Right. I'm not saying it has to, absolutely not, but it could be, it could be tar and feather situation, but I would rather them try to be like, hey, you're not paying the taxes, and me be like, come and get it. Versus like right now, if you work a W-2, they just take. They take and take and take and take and take. Or if you own a small business, they hit you with, taxes, and then Social Security tax for your employees. They just hit you and hit you. But if you're off that system, if you're selling off market to your friends, and you've got, you're trading and you're bartering and you've got what you need, then when they want to come and collect your tax dollars, they've got to come to you. And so I would much rather that's the fight I'm willing to have. I'm not trying to go look for the fight. I'm trying to build my system and then let someone come and try and take it and see what happens.
Well, and to your point, if the media picks it up and you're not going to a government building and they're coming onto your land, now, of course, the media may not frame it in your favor, but you have a better chance of letting people see that and going, now who infringed where? We were just on our own land doing our own thing, and these idiots show up and ruin it all. Like, so who's the bad guy here? It is easier for you to frame it in a better light for yourselves, because if you just go storm the Capitol, the media is going to be all over you, right? They're going to frame it. You're a bunch of lunatics. You hate the government. You try to take over the government. You try to do this, that, and the other. And then somebody plants pipe bombs and all kinds of other weird stuff happens. Oops, you don't know what happened there. And But if they come on your land and start tearing up Jake, it's much easier for you to frame it in a positive way for yourselves and get in front of cameras and go, this is what we were doing. And then they showed up. No one's gotten sick. No one's gotten hurt. No one's stealing from anybody else. We have a cooperative thing going here. He wanted this product that I have, and I wanted this amount of dollars from him. And we decided it was in our mutual interest to exchange that money for those goods, and everybody came away happy. What is the problem? It's way better than like, I'm going to go and try to kidnap the governor of Michigan, even though that was, I get it, that was a whole setup thing and that was entrapment, but still, it's way better than trying to like kidnap the governor. Like, listen, boy, you need to change your ways. I want to sell pickles and you won't let me. And they're like, dude, you kidnapped the governor. Like, no one's going to like feel like there's going to be a small group of people like, oh, and everybody else like, bro, you shouldn't have done that. So,
yeah.
Everybody
remembers Ruby Ridge, and very few people
and
are
Waco,
on the government side.
Yeah.
Waco, they're still able to convince the masses that like about like they're just trying to convince everyone that Waco was just some terrible like cult worshiping. And I'm not saying the people there probably weren't a little strange, comparatively speaking.
It definitely were.
You don't go and firebomb all the kids.
No, you don't pump that gas or whatever they pumped in there.
And then it caught on fire.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, and you'll have people like that surprising, like people on X. I can't remember who it was. I'd have to go back and look, but I don't even know if we have time. But there was someone on X who surprised me with they were like, the Waco was to take out the cult that was abusing the girls, the children there, and I'm like, what kind of government lie have you been told?
Yeah, Scott Horton at PorkFest, he did a talk, and I played it on one of my shows. It was like 45 minutes long or so. He did a great speech on Waco. Kind of laid out the history of the events. And then there was a movie, and I can't remember it. You can find it on YouTube. Dude, talk about infuriating. Because I knew that it wasn't what the feds told me it was, right? I knew. But when you watch this documentary and you're like, holy smokes, like this is even worse than I remember. And so, some of the information that I remember, this is way worse than that. And, especially with the part where, the guy at a gun store calls Koresh and says, hey, man, the ATF's here and they'd like to come look at your guns. He's like, yeah, let them come on in. And they're like, what are you doing? Are you stupid? Don't let him know. We're on to him. He gave them the opportunity to come to his compound and see that he had all his licenses. All those guns were legal. Nope. Didn't want to do that. They wanted to sneak around and be shady. And I don't know if they were trying to entice him to come out of there and then arrest him or what they were trying to do. But they had the opportunity to go look at his guns. The ones they said he had there to, to fight the government and just they were only there to murder people. No, that's the way he was making money for his organization or group, was by buying and selling guns. And then the UPS guy freaked out because he delivered something. It was a bunch of fake hand grenades. And what they were going to do is make those ones where it says, customer complaints, please take a number, and the number would be tied to the pin that you would pull out of the grenade. So they were making gag novelty stuff too. But he saw they were real hand grenades, and that didn't help anything either. But yeah, the ATF had they had the ability to go. They had an open invitation to come in and look, and they chose not to. There's a lot of things about Waco that don't add up to the typical like Fed story, and it's just not.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the feds try to sensationalize that story for more FBI funding?
Oh, definitely.
Because I think part of like in the middle of it, they were like, "Oh, everyone's watching. This is our opportunity to like make the FBI look good." But then it ended up totally backfiring.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just
I mean, it
and
could be worse. We could live in California. I always, every now and then you gotta be like, you know what? It could be worse. I could live in a much bluer state / area.
dude, have you seen all the articles coming about all those refineries that are just shutting down and leaving? Like
California?
Chevron is shutting down their refinery. They're like, we're not working with you anymore. And Arizona and Nevada talked to Newsom and said, dude, our gas prices are going to go up. Like, what are you doing? And before they decided they were going to close the refineries down and move their operations somewhere else, they gave him a heads up and said, do you want to talk? He's like, I'm good. No, he wants to electrify every vehicle in the state. He wants to electrify all the vehicles. He doesn't care. Dude, I hope a lot more people with a little bit of common sense just keep moving out of that state and just keep leaving.
Just don't take your policies with you.
Right.
Leave in California. Come to somewhere else.
Yep.
And be a whole new voter.
Yeah. Be an informed voter and don't fall for the same BS you fell for in California. Just leave that stuff behind. Absolutely right. Put that in a suitcase, put it on your lawn, set it on fire, use your brain, and come on over here. We'd love to have people who are a little more enlightened. But yeah, so they've got they definitely have some let me see if I can pull it up real quick because I was seeing some TikTok videos on it and stuff, but there
the infrastructure is nowhere close. Unless I missed something very recently, we're still years and years off from being able to handle the mass amount of transit all becoming electric.
So I don't know. The newest I'm seeing August 2024 that Chevron, the second largest U.S. oil company, will relocate from its California headquarters to Texas. But they were going to be okay. Golden State Exodus. Valero burns. What's this? Valero burns $1 billion just to get out of California. Valero Energy is reportedly taking a staggering $1 billion loss to shut down and exit California by April 2026 rather than comply with the ever-expanding mandates pushed by Governor Gavin Newsom and his regulatory agencies. Let that sink in. One of the largest energy companies in the country looked at Sacramento's rules, did the math, and decided it was cheaper to walk away than play along. This is not a market failure. It's a policy failure. Valero's decision is a brutal indictment of California's hostile business climate, particularly its war on reliable energy. Refiners have been squeezed by low carbon fuel standards, cap and trade costs, and a regulatory environment so unpredictable that long-term investment has become nearly impossible. Newsom can spin press releases all he wants, but when a company willingly eats $1 billion to leave, the message is crystal clear. California is ungovernable for serious industry. And Californians will pay the price. Fewer refineries mean tighter fuel supply, higher gas prices, and more dependence on imports. Sacramento politicians will blame greed or big oil, but the reality is simpler and far more inconvenient. You cannot regulate your way to prosperity, and you certainly cannot punish producers without consequences. That comes from the Nevada Globe, and that was dated today, actually. But yes, apparently Arizona and Nevada's governors have been trying to talk some sense into Newsom, and he's not hearing any of it. Big shocker, right? Like Newsom not talking facts. Whoa, what's going on?
No, you can't run as a Democrat for a 2028 presidential primary and be the pro-oil guy. So no, everything he's got to do between now and when do you think he'll announce? Probably 2026.
Yeah,
Late
or early
2026.
or early 2027, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
He'll probably start doing rounds where he's like, I'm not saying I'm running. I'm just releasing a book called If I Was President, What I Would Do. And I'm here on, he'll probably go on Fallon or Colbert and be like, I don't know if I'm going to run or not, but I'm just releasing a book called I'd Be a Great President Someday.
I tell you what, though, here's the funny thing about that. So he wants to run on this EV stuff and how he's a big environmentally friendly guy and blah, blah, blah. But guess whose kind of campaign coffers will be filled to the brim with campaign donations from big banks? Gavin Newsom, you guessed it right. Those big banks like Citibank and a bunch of they'll flood him with campaign donations, and he'll take them all while pretending he's against the big greedy blah 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 system and everything. Oh, his campaign donations will be hefty because they're going to want to put their people in his cabinet, just like they did to Trump. They did it to Biden. They did it to Obama. I think if I'm not, I don't remember which bank it was. It was Citibank or somebody basically told Obama, these are the people you're putting in your cabinet. And guess what? He did. He did.
Yeah.
All of them, but maybe one he put in there. And people love to think of Obama as, he was really fighting against the greedy. Really? Because he let some big banks tell him what his cabinet was going to be. Yeah, that's a real fighter. Okay, cool.
Well, it's funny with Trump too. It's like I couldn't imagine why would Trump betray the voters and go to war with Venezuela over oil? It's like, do you not remember that his first Secretary of State when he won presidency in 2016, like when he got into office, his first Secretary of State was the former CEO of Exxon, Rex Tillerson.
Yep.
And so I don't remember what the other oil company was, and I couldn't really tell you who I heard it from, but someone was saying that like Exxon is a big backer of Republicans. And then another major oil company is like tends to be more of a backer on Democrats. So like Exxon's probably going to make a ton of money off of this if the United States ends up overthrowing Maduro with a military coup, then you'll end up seeing Exxon reap a bunch of benefits. But when like a Democrat's president and they do big oil projects, I don't want to misspeak on which the other one is, but there's like the other one tends to be like get the favorited contracts from Democrats. So that's what it'll be is Gavin Newsom. He'll be like, oh, I'm green. And then he'll get a bunch of money from all these oil companies. And then he'll be launching wars in Venezuela, just like the last guy. For democracy, though, democracy.
Democracy sucks. All right. Any last closing thoughts before we end the show tonight, Brandon?
Nope. Just Merry Christmas. Hug your loved ones.
Absolutely. And we will be back next Tuesday with another edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Hope to see you all then. And with that, we bid you adieu again. To all of those who listen via podcasting app or watch on YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble, or listen on molibertyradio.us. We greatly appreciate your continued viewership and listenership. Don't forget to give us a like, a follow, subscribe, leave us a rating or review anywhere you hear this so that more people can find us. But with that, I bid you adieu. You all have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Hold on, I messed up. One last parting message. I'm not going to mess it up this week.
I put a whole bag of jelly beans up my ass.
There we go. And now, last week it cut it off. It didn't get to finish.
Oh.
Now I'll end the stream. Good night, everybody.